Well, the attempt to equate the deposit with the loan has been so crude that the most eminent specialists in commercial law have not ultimately accepted it. And why is it impossible to equate the deposit with the loan? Why have we seen the failure of this first set of doctrines aimed at legitimizing what banks have been doing? Well, to begin with, because it is clear that the purpose or cause differs radically in the two contracts. The concept of the cause of a contract refers to the compensation stipulated in the contract. But there is also a subjective concept of the cause, and that is the motivation for closing the contract. In a contract of sale, in which I hand over money and buy shoes, the cause of the contract, for me, consists of the shoes I plan to receive in exchange for my money. If there is no cause, if there is no compensation, I do not close the contract. If I do close the contract, then the shoes I expect to receive are subjectively worth more to me than the money I'm going to give in exchange for them. If not, I do not close the deal. A necessary condition for any contract is that both parties subjectively come out ahead. If not, the contract is not completed. Note the clear symbiosis which therefore exists between the subjective concept of economics, in which we focus on what the subjects, thus the term subjective, seek to achieve with their actions, and the subjective concept of the cause of a contract. And what subjective cause leads us to enter into a deposit contract? Well, that is obvious. We already know the answer. The cause is custody and safekeeping. We hand over the money or the fungible good so that the other party, called the depository, will guard and protect it like a good paterfamilias and keep it constantly at our disposal, so that whenever we ask for it, he can return it to us. In other words, it is a demand or sight deposit. That is what the phrase constantly at our disposal refers to. The cause of the contract is custody and safekeeping, and the continuous maintenance of availability. And what is the economic reason people make demand deposits? Well, the reason is obvious, because often our money is safer that way. Instead of having the money in our pockets, we prefer to have a professional, or our mom or dad look after it for us, or because economies of scale exist, and the cost of custody and safekeeping goes down. If people take care of guarding their money on their own, that entails a cost. However, if several of us do it together, the cost falls dramatically. Advantages also exist with respect to insurance, etc. The fact is that traditionally, many human beings have believed they better achieved their ends if they entered into a deposit contract in which they transferred the task of safekeeping to a professional, who was to keep the good continually available to the depositors. Meanwhile, what is the essential cause of the loan contract? Exactly the opposite. People enter into a loan contract with the purpose of losing the availability of a thing and gaining it again, plus interest, at the end of a term. The one who receives the fungible good knows that for the duration of the loan, she owns the good, and thus can use all of it for her personal business deals, activities, consumption, or whatever. And only when the term concludes must she return the fungible good received, in our case, money. Thus, the cause is radically different. We cannot confuse a cause in which availability is maintained, as in the deposit, with another cause in which availability is lost, as in the loan. Also, notice that the confusion, the lack of clarity regarding the essence of this contract, always benefits depositories, bankers. In fact, if you take a look at the contracts people sign when opening a demand checking account, and you read the small print, you will see that it is not clear what operation is being carried out. And certainly, if an economic agent enters into a deal thinking he is making a deposit, if that is the depositor's fundamental purpose, and another economic agent receives the money as if it were a loan, if that is the banker's fundamental purpose, then there is incompatibility. And according to general legal principles, the contract is null and void. If one person hands over money as a deposit, and the other receives it as if it were a loan contract. Why? Well, if the money is not there because the banker has lent it to a third party, then it is ontologically impossible for the banker to honor in all cases the promise to return the demand deposit. Also, take note of the following important point, which we will study tomorrow or the day after using accounting entries. If I have money in my pocket, where it is available to me at all times, and I hand it over to a depository, a bank, as a demand deposit, when I hand it over and walk out of the bank, the money is still at my disposal, just as if it remained in my pocket. Better even, because I am more at ease, since the bank is safeguarding the money for me. So, a depositor who walks out of a bank's branch office still has the €1,000 he had in his pocket before. They are part of his cash balances. He enjoys their complete availability. Let us imagine that Oscar's cash balances amount to €1,000. Before, he had the money in his pocket. An hour later, he has it in his demand account. So, your cash balance is €1,000. Now, imagine the bank receives the money not as a deposit, but as a loan, as in fact it does in real life. And immediately, the bank takes almost the entire €1,000, let us say 900, and loans them to Luis, and Luis walks out with €900. Notice, what has just happened? What is the total of Oscar's cash balances? €1,000 deposited in the bank, right? And what is the total of your cash balances now that you have requested and received a loan of 900? How much do you have? €900. Observe, just like that. What is the total sum of cash balances when the deposit is confused with the loan? €1,900. €900 have come out of nowhere. Confusion between the deposit contract and the loan contract produces the legally monstrous phenomenon of dual availability, which is neither unreal nor fictitious. It is all too real. The moment the deal is closed and the two causes are confused, money is created from nothing. New virtual money, which is in effect real, becomes available. We have gone from the €1,000 Oscar had in his pocket to €1,900. Oscar still has €1,000. Subjectively, he believes he has €1,000 and can withdraw the money at any time. And Luis has received €900 as a loan. As we will see, this confusion gives rise to a huge multiplication of created money in the form of loans, which in turn completely distorts the signals entrepreneurs receive when making investments. We will see that as a result, a speculative bubble forms. Artificial prosperity is generated, and many unprofitable investment projects appear to be profitable. And we will also see that the market, which requires strict compliance with the general principles of property rights, sooner or later responds to this attack by identifying the errors committed and reversing them in the form of a financial crisis and an economic recession. In short, we are going to construct the entire theory behind the cycle which is now doing us so much harm, and which has originated from the doctrinal confusion between the deposit contract and the loan contract.